You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Distracted driving from people on their cell phones. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Wednesday Hump Day edition. May 29, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. I've got my main man, Justin Jones, manning the controls and taking your phone calls in this first hour on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. Pinnacle Park at North River, luxury townhomes near Lake Tuscaloosa. Find out more at pinnacleparknr.com. That's pinnacleparknr.com. We got a jam-packed show for you today. We are loaded. I'm going to run it down for you in just a second, but first I'm going to let you know this hour of the Gary Harris Show, as always, brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. Find out more for yourself. Visit alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or get by and see them at one of their nearly 40 locations around the state of Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, if you want to join us on the at the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. We'd love to hear from you. Our lineup today, as I said, we are loaded. Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. So much to discuss there. With the news yesterday that Stewart-Haas Racing is closing at the end of the current season. 4-car operation. This is huge news, not good news for NASCAR. Also, of course, the race at Charlotte with the Coca-Cola 600 being shortened due to rain. Christopher Bell gets the checkered. A lot of NASCAR fans feeling cheated. We'll look ahead to the race coming up this weekend. Also at 10 o'clock, Karen Johns, stats and analysis for ESPN softball, will join us from Oklahoma City, side of the Women's College World Series, which begins tomorrow. First game at 11 a.m. tomorrow is Alabama and UCLA. Karen Johns will join us to discuss that. Then at 10:30, talking ball with Drew Darman, the Rocket Man from 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville. Drew normally joins us on Tuesday, but because we weren't here on Monday, we had Rodney Orr yesterday, and we got Drew today. So we are jam-packed, but as I said, we would love to hear from you. All right, Alabama softball departed for OKC yesterday right around lunchtime. I was out at the airport to visit with Coach Murphy and the players, and they are excited. We've got some of that sound from Coach Murphy that we're going to run for you today as he met with reporters at the airport. Also, Kalen DeBoer, his first ever trip to the SEC spring meetings, the new Alabama head coach. He also met with the media there at Sandestin Resort. We've got that for you as well. And some good information there from Kalen DeBoer, who I'm really, as I said last night on my sportscast on TV, he hasn't coached a game yet. So the proof will be in the pudding. I get that. But so far, in my opinion, in, going on 5 months on the job, he has been outstanding. He has hit a home run. The way he's conducted himself, the way that he has stepped in and hit the recruiting trail, the way he was able to, after losing a lot of players that went in the portal after Nick Saban retired, had nothing to do with him, but to come in here and kind of level off the roster, get Ryan Williams back in the fold, go into the portal and solidify the roster. Very, very, very impressed with Kalen DeBoer. Alabama baseball in the Tallahassee NCAA Regional will play on Friday night at 6 o'clock against Central Florida. Earlier that day, it'll be the host Florida State Seminoles against Stetson. So it's a busy, busy week. School has been out for although they're about to start a summer session, but school's been out for over 3 weeks. And, it's been quiet in Tuscaloosa, but boy, the student athletes have continued to be active with baseball and softball. And, of course, Philip Padushek winning the NCAA men's tennis singles championship over the weekend. So no school, but still a busy time for Alabama sports. And Greg Byrne, the athletics director, deserves a lot of credit for the program that he has helped nurture. Alabama's competitive, it seems like, across the board. In just about every sport, they have a really good quality program, championship caliber. And he said when he took the job here that, he wants to be competitive in every sport. If you're going to scholarship it, then he wants to try to win at it. And he's doing a good job of seeing that through. So, jam-packed show today. As we said, we'd love to hear from you as well. Let me bring Justin in for a moment. I'm going to mention a couple other things. Braves last night win over the Nats 2-0. Max Fried was outstanding, went 8 innings of shutout baseball. He has been incredible. And Ozuna just keeps on raking, man. He had another home run. They're going to need his bat. They're going to need a lot of players to really pick it up with Ronald Acuna Jr. out for the season with an ACL tear in his knee. We did talk about yesterday baseball being a little bit different. In basketball, if you lose a player with just 5 players, it's hard to overcome if it's top guy. In football, if you lose your quarterback, it changes your team. You lose a dynamic edge rusher, it changes your team. You lose your top running back, it changes your team. You lose your top wide receiver, it changes your team. In baseball, as good as Acuna Jr. is, it's different. In right field, he's outstanding, but you can find a good right fielder. You're not going to find a hitter probably as dynamic as he is or a guy who can steal bases like he can. But even as a leadoff guy, he's probably only going to get 5 at-bats on average at, max, maybe 4. And so, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to help out that lineup and overcome the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr. Remember when he went down in 21? The Braves won the World Series that year. So there's some positivity in that with the Braves, and that in baseball it's a little easier to overcome the loss of a player than I think it is in the NBA or in the NFL. So it's not a good thing for the Braves. I'm not saying that it is, but I do think that they'll have an opportunity maybe to overcome his loss. So it's 10 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, and let me bring Justin in just for a couple of thoughts before we hit the break. We'll come back on the other side with some Kalen DeBoer clips from his first trip to the SEC spring meetings. But Justin, it's quiet on campus. I've been there. I worked there in the stadium at the Digital Media Center with WVUA 23 since graduation. But boy, it has not been quiet as far as University of Alabama sports. We've had a lot going on.
Yeah, we definitely do. And it's exciting. And I'm glad because it gives us, 1, something to watch, and 2, something for us to talk about. So this weekend, especially starting tomorrow with softball, I'll be very interested to see what Karen Johns has to say today. And I think classes, Gary, started back yesterday.
Yeah, I think they probably
but
did.
It's still a little slow on campus. You're right, and I'm loving it for the traffic sake.
Yeah, but it's picked back up a little bit. Yeah, because there's some students are back in town for summer session. But prior to that, it was really, really quiet. But yeah, picked up. You're right. I think it was yesterday, but picked up. So it's picked up a little bit, but still kind of quiet, but not on the sports scene. And we hope that it continues. So we hope that Alabama makes a deep run in the Women's College World Series, and we hope that the baseball team goes to Tallahassee and pulls off an upset and wins that regional and advances on to the Super. So you got that to look forward to. Also, Darian Reed, I didn't mention this. Darian Reed, the Alabama basketball signee, making the 18-under U.S. national team. He'll play in the FIBA competition down in Argentina, and that's a big accomplishment for him. So it just seems like every time you look up, there's an Alabama athlete doing something special. All right, it's 12 minutes after the hour, 9 o'clock. We'll get to our first break. As I said, this hour being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. When we come back, we're going to hear from Alabama head football coach Kalen DeBoer. Justin's got it clipped up. He had a pretty good media session yesterday, and we're going to get to that. We're still going to hear from Patrick Murphy, Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30.
Pets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today with only a small chance of a shower, the high 88. Tonight fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Friday, partially sunny both days. The chance of a shower stays small. Highs between 81 and 84. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 78 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
9:15. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. You know, the YMCA is ready when you're ready for the YMCA. I love to say it. The Y is ready for you when you're ready for the Y. It's not going anywhere. 2300 13th Street. Unbelievable facility. Great staff led by the CEO, Jeff Knox. Personal training is available. All types of fitness classes, spin classes, boxing for Parkinson's patients. I mean, they got it all. And daycare to help you with your children while you're working out. Silver Sneakers program for seniors. All you have to do is get by and see them. They'll give you a tour. Get signed up and get on the road to better health and fitness at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown. The Y is ready when you're ready for the Y. Justin, did I mention, if I didn't, I want to make sure that I do. The Timberwolves staved off elimination last night in the NBA Western Conference Finals, down 3-0. They won at Dallas, 105-100. Edwards had 29 points and 10 rebounds. Towns stepped up with 25 points, 20 in the second half. He made 4 3-point field goals. Luka Doncic, 28 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists, another triple-double for the Mavs. Kyrie Irving had 16. But, you know, here's the thing about when you're down 3-0, Justin. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA playoffs. Period. Never happened. 3-1, yeah. Cavs came back from 3-1 down a few years ago to beat the Warriors in the NBA Finals. It's happened, but 3-0, it's never happened. But you can't look at it as we're down 3-0. You really can't. You can't look at it as we got to win 4 games. You just have to look at it as we got to win the next game. And the T-Wolves were able to do that. So, I mean, obviously you'd still rather be Dallas. Let's be clear on that. But this T-Wolves team is talented enough. They're young enough. They're physical enough that if Edwards plays well, and Towns too, Edwards had struggled. Towns had struggled. If those two guys play well, then you are just looking at trying to win the next game. That's you know, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, is what it needs to apply for the T-Wolves. Just try to win the next game. That's all you can do. You can't look at it when they were down 3-0, all you can do is say, hey, we're going to try to win a game. And they did. And now you say, well, we're going to try to win another game. Obviously, if you lose another game, you're out. But you just play them one at a time. It really is true. We always hear that. But when you're down 3-0, you've got no choice. And I'm going to tell you this. I give them a lot of credit. Because when you're down 3-0 and you're on the road, you're not expecting to, your fans probably aren't, analysts aren't expecting you to win that game 4. But they did it, 105-100. So you try to win the next game. And then all of a sudden, if you do, then the Mavs are going to start feeling a little pressure. So we'll see what happens. But I'm glad they extended the series because we get some basketball. You know, if the Mavs had won last night, we weren't going to have a game in the NBA again until the finals, which begin on Thursday, June the 6th, which obviously is 8 days from now. Now we're going to get at least one more game in the Western Conference Finals, and because Boston's already clinched, they swept the Pacers in the East, and of course Boston's loving it. They're loving the fact that these two teams are going to try to extend themselves, and they're just sitting there getting healthy. Although I guess you do worry about rust if you're Boston, because they will have not played for 10 days once they play on next Thursday, because they played Monday night and clinched, and they won't play again. All right, let's get to Kalen DeBoer making his first ever. I'm sorry, we got a phone call. We'll take our phone calls ahead of clips. So let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Gary, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I wanted to say to you this morning that I thought the Tighter Insider episode last night was one of the better ones that I've seen, and it appealed to me for this reason here. Now, I'll say this: it's always good to have winning situations to talk about, and God knows we got it right now with Alabama, correct?
Right.
And I thought the show was really good, and I'm going to point out some of the things that were interesting to me. First and foremost, the thing that y'all brought up about the SEC meeting between you and Rodney, and your short conversation about Commissioner Sankey saying that teams will be required to give an accurate injury report every week during the season. And I thought y'all's comments, and it's probably because I feel the same way, but I thought your comments were really good and interesting about that aspect of the SEC meeting. So I enjoyed that. And then, two, I wanted to commend you the conversation that y'all had about Murph. I thought that was so spot on and so interesting and good. It really was fun to listen to y'all conversate about Murph and some of the things. And your admission, and all of us, I don't care who it is, all of us have to admit, even the staunchest fans, that we were concerned about the offense on the softball team. I don't care who you are. Don't come in here and tell me that you were not, that you knew it. No, I ain't listening, because everybody was concerned. And but anyway, I wanted to commend you on the show and your comments that you and Rodney had about Murph and other things too. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was one of the better.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. No, I love that you watch. And yeah, on the SEC discussing the availability report or injury report for the major sports is something that professional sports already does, and and the whole question now with gambling is ironic to me a little bit, in that for so long sports tried to avoid gambling. Now you watch ESPN and these professional leagues, everybody's tied into it. And that's okay, as long as, it's done through legal channels. The problem is we still, and it should be this case, when a player is caught gambling, obviously that's a horrible thing. And, it's especially if they're gambling in games in which they played. But I just think you're going to see more and more of that. And it's going on that, with guys and girls that don't get caught too. You better believe it. We're growing up in a gambling society. We're growing up with a lot of these kids, parents gambling. They grow up in gambling households, apps on the phone, and teenagers. And then, so it's hard for me to believe that you're going to be in this era that we're in, where gambling is so prominent. You turn on ESPN and there's somebody giving you the odds. prop bets and everything else, and it's tied in to the official gambling app of the NFL and Major League Baseball and all this, and to think that you're not going to have some issues with your athletes gambling. I mean, it's part of the culture. It's part of the society. Some of these kids are gambling when they're in high school and are through friends. And then all of a sudden, because they're an athlete, to think that they're going to be able to remove themselves from it, because gambling's like anything else. It can become addictive. So we're going to have more instances and cases where you've got athletes that are gambling, and maybe not on their games, maybe they are, and it's going to be more tempting. So just get prepared for it. And then you can't act like, we can't believe this is happening. Well, it's part of our culture. It's part of our society. And so it is interesting that if these injury reports are made available, I think some of that has to do with, the gambling culture. I really do.
And I want to run these 2 points by you. One is that you and I are old enough to remember Pete Rozelle, commissioner of the NFL. Remember?
Pete Rozelle, absolutely, yeah.
He fought gambling at every turn. It doesn't matter what it was. You could see a suspicion of gambling, and he would be all over. And it didn't matter how big or how small. He went to war against gambling. Now, and he kept it out for a long period of time. And that's what you have to do. And to me, by bringing that up at the SEC meetings about the injury reports and everything is a concession to the gambling industry. Now, Barry and Coach this morning, they said, well, it's all about transparency. It has to be transparent. Everybody's got to know, and it makes the field, even playing field, even betting field is what it makes. And but my thing is, you have to, and you know what? We had gambling before now. It was people gambling millions of dollars in Birmingham, Alabama, and the gambling was going to take care of itself. It's no need of everybody else getting into it. They're just so damn greedy. They got to have a cut of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, gambling, like I said, it's been going on forever, but now in the legalized era of gambling, it's just different, yeah, and how you're having to monitor it for all of these sports teams, and how we know how easy it is that if you have someone who is playing in a sport and involved in gambling, how easy it is for them to help dictate the outcome. We've already seen it with an NBA player that was betting, had someone betting on a prop bet that involved him. So, yeah, it's a very slippery slope with it. And as I said, every time someone gets caught doing something they're not supposed to do, it makes news. But you think about those that are doing it that aren't getting caught, And do I believe it's happening? Yeah, I believe there are athletes who are gambling on sports, whether it's their team or their games or not, that are gambling on sports, and they don't get caught. It's happening. I don't think there's any doubt about it. So,
one case, I could tell you, and as soon as I told you, your memory would take you back to it, and I could point out the play that it happened on, and got proof of where the player was the next day after that happened in a game in the SEC, that a player threw the freaking game. And if I brought all of it out, you would remember it, and you would be convinced that I was right. But I had some inside information on how it happened. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up. But more than anything, I want to tell you how much I enjoyed Tighter Insider last night. I'm a big fan of Tighter Insider, written and broadcast, and I appreciate the effort.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you. 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a time out, come back with Matt Coulter on NASCAR, and we got a lot to cover with the sport of stock car racing. A lot of fans not happy with what happened at Charlotte and Stewart-Haas Racing going away at the end of the season. We're going to...
We give that to them each and every time they come and visit us.
The sense of pride that we have in the quality, the consistency of our food carries over to everything we do in the stores. That's Taco Casa.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
Savings up to $500 off select laundry appliances at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid May 16th through June 5th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Follow Tide 100.9 on Facebook today to watch our live shows, read the great articles, and interact with Bama fans today.
My pappy said, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln. Have you heard the story of the hot rod race with the Fords and Lincolns was set in the...
9:32, 28 minutes in front of the hour of 10 o'clock. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for Matt Coulter on NASCAR. And always a fun segment, but, boy, we got a lot to cover today. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, Gary, how's everybody in Tideland? Good?
Doing well, thank you. What a day Sunday is, this past Sunday is. It's one of the biggest days in motorsports. You have the Indianapolis 500. You have Kyle Larson trying to pull the double. You have the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. And it was one of those weird days where it did not live up to the hype. Now, they got Indy in, but it was delayed for a long time. And Kyle Larson, who wound up finishing 18th, could have finished higher, got a speeding penalty on pit road, but because of the delay, by the time he got to Charlotte, they were in a weather delay there, and that race was not completed. So let's focus on, because this is a NASCAR report, let's focus on the Coca-Cola 600. A lot of fans very, very perturbed at this one. Christopher Bell will take it. You don't apologize for winning. I get that. He was in the lead. After the rain, they had humidity, they had track issues, but a lot of NASCAR fans were saying, Monday's a holiday. Why would you not just hold them over overnight and finish that race when there was beautiful weather on Monday morning and let us have a checkered flag finish rather than go ahead and award it to Christopher Bell in one of our signature races? And not that anybody had anything personally against Christopher Bell, but I saw a lot of NASCAR fans, probably I would say 75% of NASCAR fans, very, very upset with that decision. You follow the sport. You work for Talladega Super Speedway. Give us some insight into why they went ahead and called the race on Sunday night and did not consider a Monday finish.
Well, as lame as this answer is going to sound, that's the rule. You know, if you finish one more lap than the halfway point, which they finished 249 of 400, the race is called if you can't get the track dry. They weren't able to get the track dry, so, you know, they packed them up. Wasn't a very long trip since they were in Concord, but that's just the way they do it. I certainly understand the frustration. I don't like them when they end in the rain. I will say this, if it, offers any consolation here, Bell may have gone on and won the race. He had the best car out there at the time. He had led the most laps with 90. But I sure would like to have seen Brad Kay get a shot at it. But that's the way NASCAR does it. And Christopher Bell gets his tag. And by the way, have you seen what's going to happen to Larson? Larson's got to get another victory to qualify for the championship run. But that's another topic. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, you had Larson, and obviously you picked him, and he was running the double, and the weather delay at Indy caused problems there. And I had Blaney, who got wrecked early. So, we were really not in that one at all. But, no, I understand. I'm glad you explained it. You're right. Rules are rules, and all the drivers and teams know it. I get that. Doesn't mean that it's a good rule. And what I mean by that is there are times, logistically, maybe it's an issue. Maybe you can't hold them over. But I do think everything should be done to finish the race. And they do it in golf. They'll have a Monday finish if they have to. In this case, like I said, Monday being Memorial Day and being a holiday, this is one of your signature races. I wouldn't mind seeing the rule. Hey, you run more than half the race, we can name a winner unless we feel there's an opportunity to finish that race the next day. And I just thought in this case, of course, maybe it's something they need to look at going forward. When there is an opportunity for a Monday finish, that we have a Monday finish. That's just my thoughts on it, Matt. And I think that it's something that is workable to me in a lot of cases. Maybe in some cases it's not. Or maybe Monday the weather forecast is horrible, But that wasn't the case here. The weather forecast, once they got that storm out of the way, the weather forecast for Monday was beautiful. So do you think that's something they might look at tweaking?
I made a couple of calls about it. I really doubt it. It's been that way for so long. It's been that way from, my memory ever since I got into the sport. But you bring up two factors that I think play heavily here in considering the extension or just postponing it and continuing it the next day. And that's the fact that it was Memorial Day. So most people had the day off. And also, nothing on the radar. But that's the way it is, and that's the way I would. It's gonna stay that way, Gary.
Okay. All right. Well, we move on to. I say St. Louis. It's Illinois, but it's right there outside of St. Louis. Before we do that, though, I do want to major news yesterday, and it's one of those news stories that you just hate reporting. Stuart Haas, Tony Stewart and Gene Haas, co-owners, making the decision to disband at the end of the season. This is a 4-car operation. And this is, I was shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. I had read some stuff I knew they were struggling to some degree, but still to have a major operation like this announced that they're shutting down at the end of the 24 season. You got drivers, you got crew members, you got people back at the shop. I know they didn't make this decision lightly, and Tony Stewart said, listen, racing is a 365-day endeavor, and you have to be totally in. But to shut down their operations completely at the end of the 2024 season, Matt, your reaction?
I was a little surprised. I guess there had been rumors that this might happen. I think we can kind of start the discussion here by going back. Who did they lose last year? Kevin Harvick, one of the largest names in the history of the sport. Was that the first brick in the collapse of the wall? I don't know. But it's tough. This is a successful team that has won not just a lot of races. They've won
2 championships.
Of course, it's Tony Stewart and Gene Haas. Tony started in NASCAR in 96. I think Haas got into it as an owner in 2002. So this is not just an overnight operation that suddenly decided to shut off the lights. And I think it's very important to note how big a loss this is for Ford. We've been talking about Ford struggling all year, and here they are losing a team that consists of 4 drivers, Josh Berry, Briscoe, Gregson, and Ryan Priest. And what about those guys? And you mentioned, what about I would think those 4 teams probably employ, 800 people total, maybe more. What about those people? They'll be absorbed. If you're a good driver, you're a good tire changer, you'll be absorbed in all this. But making a long story longer, I was surprised, and I guess we'll just have to look in the next few months to see what happens to the people, the cars, the numbers, and the charters of Stewart-Haas Racing.
Yeah, that's the question now. And give us a little more insight. There, like you said, there are charters, there are people that are waiting, but this is a 4-car operation. What happens? Because you want to fill that void. Do you do it with 2 different racing outfits? Do you do one? You mentioned the manufacturer Ford. Does this open up an opportunity? Will Ford try to negotiate with the new teams, or will they be Chevrolet or they be Toyota? What will happen for 2025?
One of the quotes, and you read it because you sent me the article, is that they were concerned about their personal and business lives, and it was time to, and I used the quote, pass the torch. I've read that over a couple of times, and of course you can only get the context off the written page. But what does that mean, Gary? Does that mean somebody like Trackhouse? Is 2311 going to move in here? Of course, you also, like you just said, you have to consider the manufacturer. So if you pick up those guys, they start running Fords. They're not going to run the Toyotas. What's going to happen as far as that is concerned? Or does somebody just come in and buy the whole 4-team operation? To me, with the state of the economy and all, yada, 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 doesn't seem likely, or I don't know who has the kind of money to come in there and buy an entire 4-team operation. My guess, it would just kind of split up. A couple of the popular teams now might pick up a driver or 2 here, or maybe somebody absorbs 2 or 3. I don't know. That's just, we're waiting on the future as far as that decision is concerned.
Well, I hate it because, again, Tony Stewart, Gene Haas, Stewart-Haas. Let me ask you this. Kevin Harvick retiring, do you think that had a direct result on this decision? Because when you've got Kevin Harvick, you've got, a premier racing name, one of the best drivers on the circuit. Do you think him retiring expedited this decision, or it's totally non-related to that?
Well, you kind of have to wonder, did that start it? Was that a part of the process? Did Harvick see? Here's one. If you really want to go deep, did Harvick see it coming? Is that why he decided to retire? I really don't know. But when you look back over your shoulder, hindsight 2020, maybe it did have something to do with it. I have not seen a statement from Harvick, and I imagine he would just tell you, no, the 2 incidents are separate and move along. And actually, I think I believe that too. I believe that maybe it led to it, but I don't think it was the cause of it. Does that make sense?
It does. And like I said, even though there were, if you follow NASCAR, there were whispers, rumors, and I guess the people that cover the sport every week, I read a couple of them, reporters say, hey, if you're in the garage area every week, you're not surprised by this. But at the same time, to see it come to fruition, it's disappointing, no doubt about it. All right, let's move on. We've got the Enjoy Illinois 300 coming up at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois. I think this is a 1.25 mile track, Matt. I'm going to get you to tell us more about the track in a moment. But it's, basically St. Louis. It's in Illinois, but it's outside St. Louis. This is a race. This track was reconfigured, I guess, several years ago. Doesn't have a long NASCAR history as far as the Cup circuit, but tell us more about this track. It's an oval. Am I right? It's 1.25 miles, I think. Yeah. And what if anything stands out about this track to you?
Well, it's an oval, but it really is an oval more in the true sense of an egg, because one end is just a little bit wider than the other as far as turns 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. It is. You're exactly right. It's a 1.25 mile asphalt oval. It it's banked 11 degrees in one turn or two turns, and then 9 degrees in the other. It's a competitive track, as you mentioned. They get a good draw as far as location is concerned, because they're right there near St. Louis, which is huge. And but it's only been around about 10, 12 years, I think now, maybe a little bit longer than that. But it's an interesting track. It's one that we were just mentioning. Kevin Harvick won a few times there. But
who won last year? Do you remember?
Kyle Busch won last year.
Okay, but Kyle did. Yeah, I know he's been good there. Logano's been good. Kurt Busch was good there. And I think Jeff Payton said that we got out of order last week, and I was supposed to pick first, so I picked first this week. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, let's just keep it that right way.
Okay. So you want me to go first?
Yeah, and then we'll get back on track somehow.
Okay. All right. So I'll go first this week. You mentioned Kyle Busch winning last year. Over the last 5 races, he's been really good. Logano's been really good. I think Blaney's had a pretty good track record there. Like you said, it's not a ton of to go on, but it'd be easy to say Kyle Busch because he won last year. But boy, that team is really struggled. And I've kind of been on the Logano wagon. He got the All-Star race, so I'm gonna pick Joey here. All right. And I think that 22 is going to be the car to beat.
He would have been my second selection. Of course, you're never, ever off base if you go with chalk, which week to week is always Larson and Hamlin. But I'm going to go with Logano's former teammate. He's second this past week at Charlotte. He's banging on the door. Let's see if Brad Keselowski can't win his second one there at Gateway.
Okay. Yeah. Like you said, you would have loved, although you thought Christopher Bell had the best car, you would have loved to have seen them finish that race and seen what Brad K could do. He's having a really good year, and of course got the one win, but they've been close all year. I think that's a good pick. So we're going Ford.
We are
on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. Getting back to Larson, it did not work out the way that they wanted it to. Rick Hendrick was incredibly supportive. I didn't realize that they were doing one of these documentary deals where they've been following him. This whole thing was part of a whole video project and everything else. But you can't control the weather, Matt. We know that. We talk about it all the time. All these things in the world that you can control, you can't control Mother Nature. And it really just put a damper on that whole deal with Larson doing the double, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. And I was really pulling for him to do it. When I started seeing the rain, though, I went, oh, man, this is going to mess things up. And it did. And, I was flipping around. The Bama women were playing softball. You're trying to keep up with all these different things at once. By the way, I thought it was a great race. Joseph Newgarden ended up winning. I think he's won back-to-back.
Back-to-back, yep. Back-to-back, yeah.
But Larson was running 4 and 5, and not just for a little while. Kyle Larson led the Indianapolis 500 for a few laps, but had to pit late and ended up finishing 18th. Is that correct? I think.
Yeah, he did.
He's running.
He did.
He finished 18th. So anyway, it's an interesting, but it was a little bit of a setback as far as their NASCAR. Because he didn't get the race at all. So
that's right.
He's not back to down 0 in points, but he didn't get any either. So he's going to drop there, and NASCAR will have to give him some kind of a pass that makes him able to win another race and be in the championship. And I think we all know that Kyle Larson will win another race between now and Phoenix.
Yeah, I believe that he will too. All right, Matt. Great segment as always. I'm still just very disappointed in the news with Stuart Haas. I don't know. It just you got marquee teams out there, and I always consider them to be one of them. So I think it's a blow when one of those type of organizations goes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think about Tony Stewart and what a just knuckle bruising kind of competitor he was. Man, I'll bet he didn't like to have to do this at all.
No.
Anyway, I would be
no way.
surprised if both of them, pop back up in NASCAR somewhere along the line. But I know we've pushed our time. I appreciate it, and enjoyed your show listening this morning. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, thank you, Matt. All right, 9:50 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're winding down this first hour, but we're going to have a jam-packed second hour. We'll have Karen Johns, we'll have Rudy Arment, and I still want to get in some of that Kalen DeBoer sound if possible, and also some Patrick Murphy sound as well. So we come back. We may have time for a clip or two from Kalen DeBoer before we wrap up the show. So let me get to the break, and we'll be right back.
Coming up next on the Stingray Show.
That is the theme of WWE Hall of Famer Kane, and Kane is coming to the Iron City Comic-Con this weekend at the BJCC. He will join us on the Wednesday evening edition of the Stingray Show to talk about that event in detail and, of course, his wrestling career. Make sure you catch Kane on the Stingray Show.
Tune into the Stingray Show Wednesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on Tide 100.9.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representations made that legal services provided by Patterson Comer is greater than any other legal services performed by any other lawyer.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today with only a small chance of a shower, the high 88. Tonight fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Friday, partially sunny both days. The chance of a shower stays small. Highs between 81 and 84. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 80 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:53. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And we got about 4 minutes left in this segment, and we got a lot to get to in the second hour. So, Justin, let's go ahead and play. We got a lot of clips from Kalen DeBoer yesterday at SEC Spring Meetings. Let's run, we've got 8 clips, so let's just go ahead and get the first one in. This is Kalen DeBoer on the question of 8 or 9 conference games. They're playing 8 right now. There's some talk that in the future they might go to 9 conference games. Here's Kalen DeBoer on that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's I can, hear both ends of it. I think you'd have to make adjustments to your non-conference schedule depending on which direction you go, and I know the SEC slate that every team will have is going to be strong, and it's going to be one where you'd have to adjust how many Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams you're going to play in the non-conference schedule. So I think 10 games, not nine games, Power 5 games are the ones that is a good number, so if it was 8, probably add 1 or 2, and we'll kind of see from there. So I'm up in the air on it, obviously, and, want to hear both from my athletic director and also the pros and cons, from the conference on where it all stands. And I know we'll talk about that today.
Kalen DeBoer from the SEC Spring Meetings. Let's get to one more clip before we wrap up the first hour. The walk-on situation with the adjustments in scholarships and paying players. We may not technically have walk-ons anymore. So here's what Kalen DeBoer had to say about that situation.
When I think back over the years, and I've been at a lot of different levels when it comes to putting a team together. The crazy thing is people always look and say only 11 are on the field at a time, but there's a lot that goes into development. There's a lot that goes into putting together a practice, that I think is efficient. There's a health and safety piece for sure, that comes into play when it comes to roster size. I think it was, smaller college levels have been as low as 100, 105, and been as high as 135. And I think that somewhere in between is a good number to have as far as executing, throughout the course of a season and having some depth. And I think there's other pieces too, especially in the latter years here, having legacy players, those that maybe are walk-ons that come onto your program and grow into being a scholarship player. There's a lot of variables that come into play. So, first and foremost, it comes to the health and safety and, efficiency and having a successful practice that I think you want to execute each and every day. That's important with the number that's on your roster. So, I've operated with 110 back about 4 or 5 years ago, 120 last year, and we'll have a few more than that with the way and the direction that we're at with Alabama this fall.
And about how many are typically walk-ons?
Well, everything above 85 normally, so anywhere from 15 to 35.
All right, good stuff there from Coach DeBoer. Wanting to keep sure they keep these roster sizes large enough. Once you start paying the players, by the university paying them, there's a question about how many players you want to have on the roster. But as he said, it's not just about 22 on the field. You're going to play many more than that in a game. And for practice purposes, the roster sizes have to be larger. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the first hour. We'll hear more from Coach DeBoer in the second hour. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. We'll kick off hour number 2 with our friend Karen Johns. Stats and analysis for ESPN from the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City. Also, Rudy Arman, the Rocket Man, will join us.
Get Memorial Day savings up to $2,400 off select kitchen packages at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid May 16th through June 5th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
27 800 694 1127. That's 800 694 1127.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
In the NBA, the Timberwolves avoided elimination with a 105-100 win over the Mavericks in Dallas in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. They were led by Anthony Edwards, who had a double-double, 29 points and 10 rebounds.
He's one of the best young players, or take the young part off. He's one of the best players in this league. And so, again, give Minnesota credit. They fought. They found a way to extend the series. Now it goes back to Minnesota.
That was Dallas head coach Jason Kidd. Dallas still holds a 3-1 lead in the series, but there will be a Game 5 Thursday in Minneapolis. ESPN reports that Bronny James will remain in the 2024 NBA draft and forego his remaining college eligibility. David Fizdale is returning to the Phoenix Suns in a prominent assistant coaching role on Mike Budenholzer's staff. This is according to ESPN. And the Jets are signing free agent running back Tariq Cohen to a 1-year deal.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
All of the power is back on for residents of East Tuscaloosa and West Bibb County. That's where Monday's severe storms left considerable damage. Both counties continued debris removal. Aisha Smith is missing in the Sumter County town of York ever since Sunday afternoon at 3:30. The 18-year-old is pregnant and was last seen wearing gray tights and a black T-shirt with Crocs. UAW wants the National Labor Relations Board to void the results of the anti-union vote at Mercedes earlier this month. They claim the company employed unfair labor practices.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Justin Jones, Karen Johns will join us here in just a moment. This second hour is being brought to you, as always, by Patterson Comer, attorneys at law. Our business is to take care of your needs. At Patterson Comer, we invite you to contact us with any questions concerning legal issues that are a result of an automobile accident, personal injury, wrongful death, product liability, or an 18-wheeler accident, or other legal topics. We can help you there as well. Call Paul in Tuscaloosa at 205-345-1000. Mike Comer's in Northport at 205-759-3939. The commitment to serve our clients does not stop at the end of the workday. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with feet on the ground in West Alabama. PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
Time to talk Women's College World Series with Karen Johns, stats and analysis for ESPN, former head coach at Florida, Virginia, pitching coach at Alabama, Mississippi State, joining us from Oklahoma City this morning. We begin action tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Central with Alabama and UCLA. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Gary. I'm doing great.
Good. I know you're excited. We all are. And let's start with, of course, Alabama. I was out at the airport yesterday, and good crowd of people to see them off. Girls were just giddy. And Murph, you know how emotional he is. You could see the adrenaline still just running through his veins. When we were talking to him, I literally think he was shaking. He was so excited and so proud of this team, and as he should be. And I talked to him, and he was talking about the doubters. I said, well, I was one of them. But when you look back at the way this team struggled in the SEC to hit, really the first game of the regional when they won 1-0, and then in the ninth inning of the second game against Southeastern, if they'd beaten USC upstate 1-0, it's 1-1 in the ninth. Valentine hits a 2-run homer. They wound up scoring 5 runs. And then the next day, they scored 9 in the first inning. And then really, I thought, hit the ball pretty well all 3 games against Tennessee. It was kind of, Karen, like the lid just came off. Once they got going and got a little confidence, this team looked a lot better offensively.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job. And the biggest area of improvement is scoring early, which has been a good thing through the Super Regional. The other thing that you see with 2 outs and 2 outs with runners in scoring position, in both situations, they're hitting about 100 points higher than they were during the regular season. And that's been the opportunities they've been capitalizing on those. So that's been a really neat thing to watch this team evolve that way, especially on the offensive side that way.
I didn't think they would win the Super in Knoxville, but that first game, they outplayed Tennessee. And wound up losing 3-2, and you look back at all the opportunities, and then I thought, well, they should have won that game. And then I really didn't think they were going to win. I didn't think they were going to win 2 in a row. But the resolve, and I want to give Murph a lot of credit in that he just kept focusing on what's ahead. And I want you to speak as a coach to the difficulty when you lose the first game on the road at somebody else's ballpark, especially a team the caliber of Tennessee, to come back and win 2 in a row like that, win an epic 14-inning game, in the second game, and then get the early grand slam and have it hold up in game 3. Pretty remarkable.
It's truly remarkable, and it is a tribute to him and his culture of that program. And I don't necessarily think people doubt that program, but they did doubt what was happening on the field through that last month of the season. There was, and a lot of it, too, is a lot to do with their injuries, too. They had 3 big injuries that
That's right.
It's talked about a lot. And so, I know it's to win a championship, you have to have an elite level catcher, and nobody's won one without one. And having Marley back behind the dish is a big, big plus for Alabama. She's got a good arm. She controls the game. She has played in big games before she came to college, playing for national championships on her travel ball team. So all those pieces coming together, and just Caleb Rowe's development of Kristen White and her ability to get on base and the party starter, getting things rolling. Those things weren't happening earlier in the season. And so it's not so much a doubt. It's more of the facts. Here it is. This is what's not happening. This is what has to happen. But he could see them every day at practice where the rest of us didn't, right? So he knew what they were capable of. They just weren't going out and doing it. And so that was his job, Rowe's job, and the rest of the coaching staff. How do we rip it out of them? We've got to pull it out of them because they knew, and we've said this every single week this whole season, that pitching staff is good enough to get them here. Are they going to play good enough behind them? That was the key, and they started to do that. They had some bumps in the road. I know, a little bit on defense. They had a new first baseman. They had Eshman in, but they kind of ironed that out, and Tennessee never capitalized on that, especially that one, that middle game. They never capitalized on any of those mistakes. And so Alabama was able to take advantage of that. And they really outplayed them. I thought they had better energy. I thought they had better plate appearances. I thought they did a good job of how they were going to approach their at-bats. I thought everything they did was just better in that super regional. And their pitching was good enough, and that's what happened. You win.
Yeah, the pitching's been good enough all year, and Beaver's been phenomenal, and now Brisky has really, as a freshman, matured. And you had been talking to me for a few weeks about Lance McMahon and the job he's done as a pitching coach. And Murph pointed out yesterday, that game too, to call pitches for 14 innings and stay on top of it, and the phenomenal effort that the pitchers had in that game against that lineup. He has done a really remarkable job. Obviously, he's got talent to work with, but these pitchers have, especially Beaver, from start of the season to the end, they were good enough all along. As we've talked about, it just was a lack of offense that really doomed them to a losing record in the SEC in the regular season. So if they hit, and as you said, if they get some early offense and get some runs, they I think can play with anybody out there at OKC as well.
Yeah, I think he has cemented himself as a top 5 pitching coach in the country. There is no question about that. They weathered injury. He took the number 2 pitchers. He took the number 3 pitchers, and he got him here to the World Series for 2 years in a row. And like you said, Tennessee, although they struggled, they have elite level hitting. All of their starters, except for one, were back from last year's College World Series team. They were a power force on offense last year, and they maintained them not just at Super Regionals, but during that regular season, Tennessee did not erupt on them. And so, it was just a really, I posted it on my social media because I always hear people talk, they talk about a lot of different pitching coaches around the country, and with all due respect, they deserve it. Jen Rocha, Taron Mowat, the list goes on. But boy, this kid, he's done just an amazing job. Caleb Beaver is just a kid that just absolutely bleeds Alabama. She loves Alabama. She's come to Alabama games since she was 8 years old, football, softball, you name it. And so, you take that with the mixture of an elite level pitch caller and developer of pitches, it's hard to stop that.
Indeed. One other thing I want to mention, and I guess I knew it. I did know it. This is Team 28. This is the 15th trip to the World Series. But Murph pointed out yesterday, he said, we've been in Oklahoma City. Our program has been in Oklahoma City more times than it hasn't been in Oklahoma City. 15 out of 28.
Fourth all time.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable when you consider they didn't start the program until the mid 90s. That's pretty remarkable record, right?
Yeah, they're tied for 4th place with Washington right now. And the only 3 programs that have more College World Series appearances than Alabama is UCLA, think of this history, Arizona, and Oklahoma. That's it. Those are the only programs that have been here more. And so, yeah, it's unbelievable. I knew that. I mean, I coached there. I was with him when that all initial started. There was never a doubt in my mind. Like, it was always going to happen. But to be able to do that on a consistent level, I'm not sure if the fans can appreciate how hard it is in this sport, especially this sport, because it's very difficult with the hitting and the pitching combined. I mean, it's just a tough sport to play, and to put your team in that position is just remarkable to me. No surprises on my end. It was looking not very good for this year because they were having some, stumbles and they just were challenged, like they hadn't been challenged, and so for him to keep the faith, for that coaching staff, they really deserve a lot of kudos. I think they should really get a lot of recognition nationally for what they had to do and what they came through. And it's super fun. Me being here, I absolutely have so much joy when Alabama and Auburn are here. It's fun for me because it's, the hometown people are around. It's just a really cool thing. So at least, Alabama made it here this year, and it's always fun for me to have that.
All right, let's look ahead to the World Series, and I say only 2 SEC teams, still 2 there, Alabama, Florida. If you want to count Oklahoma and Texas, they're coming in. But some other teams were close, but 2 SEC teams. When you look at this World Series field, obviously I know Texas is the number 1 overall seed, but I still think you start with Oklahoma right there in their backyard. Obviously Texas is strong. Alabama's opponent, UCLA, is playing very, very well. When you look at this field, what stands out to you about the field there in OKC?
I think the youth and the pitching staff, a lot of young players and a lot of new to the College World Series pitchers, maybe older in age, juniors, seniors, but really haven't pitched here. UCLA is in that situation. Alabama, as far as their 2 starters are concerned, have not pitched here. So you can go down the list. There's several. Florida does not have a pitcher that has pitched here. So there's a lot of inexperience that way. So it'll be interesting to see, the pressure here is a little different, but when the lights turn on and, managing that emotion and that heart rate is going to be a big thing for all of those kids. And, Duke is a very similar team to Alabama, a little bit stronger offensive numbers, but really relies on their pitching. So they remind me a lot of Alabama. They got a good 1-2 punch, opposites. One goes up, one goes down. So they could be a surprise team too, and they could give Oklahoma all they can handle. They played a great game against Oklahoma in the regular season. So these matchups are really good. Florida, Oklahoma State had a great matchup during the regular season. Kilfoyle was able to shut them out, which everybody knows how difficult that truly is. So there's so many good matchups, and there's so many good freshman hitters in this field. I just think there's so much to look forward to. And the fact that people know that there is a vulnerable spot in Oklahoma this year because their pitching hasn't been as strong, I think the fans are jacked up because, hey, my team's got a chance this year. And, we can do it too. So I think it's going to be a lot of excitement.
For Alabama, pretty quick turnaround. You play 3 games in Knoxville. You have a long delay on Sunday night. You get back late on the bus trip from Knoxville back to Tuscaloosa. Murph said, hey, man, I gave them both days off. Gave them off Monday, and they didn't practice yesterday before they left. So they won't practice until today. And then you turn around, play Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Any concern about that schedule?
I think they're okay. I think coming in yesterday was really important because it gave them a chance to get here, get established, get their rooms all set up, get their routines down. Where are we going to eat? Where are we going to get our coffee? Where are we going to, And so, I had a good rest day yesterday. I know some of them said they were up early this morning, getting some cardio in, getting their blood flowing. At this time of the year, everybody's in pretty much the same situation. I don't think there's a big disadvantage or advantage. I think everybody's tired, everybody's sore. And, I just think the adrenaline of being here is going to help them too. I just don't see that being a problem for them.
Obviously, UCLA is good, but everybody's good at this point. Not that you can't win the Women's College World Series if you lose the first game, but it's certainly a lot tougher. This is a critical game for both these teams tomorrow. How do you see this one playing out between Alabama and UCLA?
Well, I think it's a pretty evenly matched game. I think both pitching staffs, no experience here, but both very strong, 2 opposites. They just have a lot of good things. I think Alabama's key to winning is, as we have said all year, no extra chances. You don't want Maya Brady. You don't want Charlize Palacios having multiple times at the plate. They're very strong hitters. They are very good hitters. They are very good power hitters. So if you can minimize the number of times through the order, I think that's going to be a huge factor for Alabama. And that's, of course, taking care of the ball in defense. Like we said all along, when they take care of the ball in defense, they have won a lot of games.
And lastly, who's your pick to win it all? Staying with Oklahoma?
Oh, man. Yeah, usually it's a lot easier than this. I think I'm just going to stick with my pick that I've had all season. I'm going to stick with Oklahoma, but I'm not going to go home shocked if they don't.
I got you. Are you working every game?
I will be here every game. I love it. Got the best seat in the house, Gary.
You do. Thank you, Karen.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, Karen Johns from Oklahoma City. 10:17 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we are going to take a timeout. When we come back, though, we're going to get back to Kalen DeBoer from SEC Spring Meetings. We played a couple clips earlier. We'll get to a few more of those.
For Alabama Able to increase your savings. To find out if you're eligible or to open an account, visit alabamaable.gov. Brought to you by the Alabama State Treasury.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. And visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today with only a small chance of a shower, the high 88. Tonight fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Friday, partially sunny both days. The chance of a shower stays small. Highs between 81 and 84. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
All right, 10:21. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Justin Jones. Phone lines are open on the Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline here in hour number 2 at 205-342-9904. A couple of news and notes here. Scotty Scheffler, thank goodness this deal is about to be dropped up in Louisville. The misunderstanding with the security guard police officer when he was trying to get in for his tee time at the PGA Championship at Valhalla Golf Club. So reports are that that's about to be dropped. Also, Justin, tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, 10:59 Central, midnight if you want to stay at Eastern, 11 o'clock p.m. Central, is the deadline for players to either stay in the NBA draft or return to school. And Alabama has two of them, Jaren Stevenson and Mark Sears. I'm still expecting Jaren Stevenson to come back to Alabama. You hearing anything on Mark Sears? I kind of feel like it's 50-50. I think he's working out with the Bucks today. I know that he and his family and team are trying to get a guarantee as far as draft position and money. What's your feeling on those two coming back or staying in the draft?
Yeah, I've heard that as well from Mark Sears. He's working out with the Bucks today, so we probably won't hear anything from him until later, if not tomorrow, when we actually get official lists that are put out by the NBA. I really don't know how to feel about Jaren Stevenson. I'm getting some strange vibes from him and what I've seen, and maybe we have a Bediako situation where he does actually go to the league, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the jury's still out on Stevenson.
Yeah. Primo did the same thing. Josh Primo did, and he turned out to be a first-round pick. Of course, had some issues once he got in the league off the court, but, Alabama has lost guys that we thought were coming back. So, like you said, the only way we can do it is to wait and see. But I'm expecting Stevenson to come back. Alabama's going to have a good roster regardless, but, a 6'10" perimeter shooter that's only going to be a sophomore could really help you. And in Mark Sears' case, it's strictly going to come down to whether or not he gets the guarantee that he's looking for. So we will see. All right, let's get back to Kalen DeBoer, Alabama head football coach, speaking at SEC media days, not media days, that's coming up, SEC spring meetings for the first time. We ran the clip on 8 or 9 conference games and on the situation with rosters. Now let's hear from Coach on the expanded playoff, dealing with load management when you're playing more games and more opportunities for injuries. Here's Kalen DeBoer on that topic.
Yeah, I think it's always been something that I've been conscious of. We're, for example, moving to being a morning practice team. And, I think over the course of months, you're conscious about the amount of sleep guys are getting. That's not even getting to the part that I think you're referring to with the amount of contacts and hits and games that guys are playing. And so I'm always conscious of that because you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the year. You want to be fresh, both mentally and physically. And, there's just a fine line because you have to be prepared for those games throughout the season, which takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time. And so, from the summer workouts through the fall camp, tying that into, school and everything they have on their plate, that's a lot. So we want to make sure that we're always conscious and communicating, working with our team to adjust, and do what's needed to make sure we're playing our best ball come, the end of the season, but making sure we also have that possibility of or have done a good job throughout the year to put ourselves in a spot to be in the playoffs and postseason.
All right, Kalen DeBoer, the next clip that was on load management, dealing with the expanded playoff. This one is on the postseason, how he views it now that it has been expanded from a BCS National Championship game from bowl games to BCS National Championship game to a 14 playoff, now to a 12-team playoff. Here's Coach DeBoer again.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so too. You want to be the highest seed that you possibly can, and so every single game still to me is very important. It isn't just always about making the playoffs; it's about winning in the playoffs and winning the championship. And so everything that goes into that, matters when it comes to each and every game. So, I don't like to think that you have a little wiggle room because more teams are in the playoffs. I don't want us thinking that way. I want us thinking about every game, the significance of it, how important it is to us, landing in a great spot, and getting a potential first round bye in the playoffs. And so that's to me, what we'll be attacking and what we'll be working for.
All right, Kalen DeBoer from SEC Spring Meetings down at beautiful Sandestin on Tuesday. All right, a lot of questions about roster. Here's another one on roster size with previous teams that he coached, and let's hear his response to that.
Well, I think COVID, everyone had to adjust, but I think that was a time, and I think about the roster numbers and how hard that was, and that was maybe a little extreme because of the variables beyond just injuries happening. But I think we were at about a 110 roster number at the time, and just being so deficient even with injuries, and then the concerns in trying to put a team on the football field to practice each and every day became extremely tough. Just moving from different parts of the country, and understanding that there are different styles to the way different conferences play the game, the way they recruit, the way, it all just even geographically on how it's different, having to adjust to that, when you're in a remote area, getting kids to come through like we can at Alabama, throughout the spring, which is much easier. They could just drive away, but I've had to adjust to those different parts of the country, the different styles of play. But in the end, you just really try to make it about the main thing. And you focus on the kids, you focus on the X's and O's, you focus on your staff, putting together the best plan to help your guys be successful. And when you really simplify it down, it's not easy, but it becomes easier, when you try not to make it more complicated than it needs to be.
All right, Justin, I want to run one more clip before we hit the break because this is one that I wanted to get on. He was asking about replacing Saban and, maybe Saban's role, with him going forward. And here's what Coach DeBoer had to say about that.
Yeah, I think it's all about being excited to be here because of what this program's accomplished over not just Coach Saban's time in the last 17 years, but over many decades, and the great coaches, the great players and staffs that have been a part of this, these great teams, and just building on it. And I think there's always areas and ways where you can take what the foundation is and continue to add to it in your own way. I, of course, got to be who I am and be true to that, and put a staff around me that I think complements myself, the different strengths, the areas where, need guys in different roles, whether it be, your offense staff, your defensive staff, and just having everyone pulling in the same direction, I think is a strength of mine and helping them do that. So, it's been awesome embracing everything that Coach Saban has done for this program and really celebrating what he's accomplished, over that time. And I know we have a full roster of players that were recruited specifically, yes, to come to Alabama, but also to play for Coach Saban as their head coach. And so, I understand that fully as well. And I want to make sure that connection is always there and that they always feel like they can reach out to the coach that recruited them, at the beginning. And also that Coach Saban knows he's always got an open door to the program as well. I've referred to it a few different times as this is our program. When I say ours, it's all those people that have been a part of it for many years. And that, of course, includes Coach Saban.
All right, great stuff.
Trades in the construction field, go to skilltradesofwestalabama.com and find out more information about the 4-week Jumpstart program and take your first steps towards a rewarding career.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
It's 10:32, 28 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And it's time that we're joined by the Rocky Man, Rudy Arman, 977 Radio ESPN in Huntsville. Normally with us on Tuesday, but because of the Memorial holiday, we kind of backed the schedule up, and Drew joining us this week on Wednesday. Good morning, Drew.
Morning, Gary.
Listen, what are you hearing on Jaron Stevenson and Mark Sears? The deadline is tonight at midnight Eastern, 11 p.m. Central. Of course, we may not know the outcome until tomorrow, but both coming back, both staying in the draft, one coming back. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I've felt for a couple of weeks now that I thought there was a great chance both of them would return. I know things can change even at the last minute, but I'm still confident in that. I don't think either has filed the paperwork to go into the transfer portal, or that would have already been announced. So it's a two-way deal. They're either coming back to Alabama or they're going into the NBA draft. So I just think we'll see. Certainly things can change, but and they both have taken the process out, to the very end, and you can't blame them. Both have a lot of leverage and opportunity. I know. I think today Sears was supposed to work out the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're looking for some sort of guarantee. But I'm not sure it'll be better than what Alabama can put on the table for he and his family to come back to Alabama. And then with Jaron Stevenson, people need to understand he should be a freshman in college. He should have just graduated high school. He reclassified, so he's still very, very young. I think his best basketball is ahead of him. But he's not a first-round pick yet, and I think he's a guy that could stand 3 years of college to get stronger and get better, and then you'll still be barely 20, 21 years old. So, and I think you can play yourself into a first-round pick because he's such a perfect fit for Alabama's system now. This is going to be a very good Alabama team, especially if they both return, and it's going to be a very, very deep team. So you're going to have to fight for minutes, but iron can sharpen iron, and I still think that, Sears, of course, his legacy is entrenched, but he can certainly try to help Alabama win a national championship. Jaron Stevenson can continue to get better and continue to mature as a player. I think both of them have distinct advantages to coming back to school. My guess on both would be that they would return. We'll see if more intel kind of leaks out as the day goes on. But I think just from what I've been hearing from sources close to the coaching staff, I think they're very confident that both of them are going to return. And I've heard Cliff Amore be, referenced as the 13th player, and that would tell me that they feel like they're going to get, both guys back. But I'm sure we're going to find out, late tonight at the very, right before the deadline to see what happens. It may leak out before then, but I feel pretty good about where Alabama stands right now and getting both of them back.
Darian Reed, the incoming freshman, great opportunity for him, named to the U.S. National 18-under team for the World Games, FIBA, down in Argentina. Already a really good player, but excellent opportunity to get some international experience this summer before he starts playing for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, and, Kyra Lewis was able to have a opportunity like that after his freshman year at Alabama, and I think it helped propel him into his sophomore year for Nate Oates, and he became a lottery pick. So Darian Reed is supremely talented. He's going to have, I think, a big impact on this Alabama team. He can do a lot of things. He's a great defender. He can pass the basketball. He can shoot the basketball. I know his outside shot is probably the biggest question right now, but he can slash. He's a really good fit for their system. And so I think I think the international experience will really help him. He'll get seen by a lot of NBA people. Certainly he was a top 20 player in the country by the end of his senior year. And Alabama won a spirited recruiting battle with in-state Georgia, because people forget he's from Grovetown. I'm sorry. He's from Grovetown, Georgia, in Groveton. And he's from that area, and Georgia made a big run at him. But Preston Murphy and Nate Oates won out. He's a very, very good player. He ended his career at Prolific Prep, and so I think he's got a chance to be special. And, I think, he does a lot of intangible things that help you win. And I think him making this, international team, this under-18 team, proves that he's one of the elite players in the country.
Drew, the SEC spring meetings underway at Sandestin Resort, and football coaches meeting yesterday went really long because some of those guys were scheduled for media appearances, and they didn't make it. Of course, I don't know what they were talking about, but I know there's a lot of things on the table right now. The game is changing, rules are changing. Obviously, schools are going to be paying players here soon. You've got lawsuits. I know we weren't in the meeting, but the fact that they did not break that meeting at the expected time, just any thoughts on what all they might have been discussing? And maybe I wonder if there could have been some arguments going on with those 14 football coaches.
There's always going to be debate and argument. There's a lot changing in the game. The first step was the revenue sharing type plan with the $20 million coming down, Gary. I'm not going to speculate on what they were talking about. There's a lot to be hashed out. This is the first step in what's going to be a process. It's going to take a few years to get the game stabilized, to get NIL stabilized, where hopefully everybody's working from the same plane. Certainly, everybody will have money to spend, and they get to choose on who to spend it on, so to speak. But again, hopefully there'll be some kind of clarity with it, and clarity with NIL and the transfer portal. That's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if tampering was being brought up. That may be where some of the hostility comes from, because a lot of these guys are tampered with. I think just from a basketball perspective, that was the case with Ryland Griffin. But I think Alabama combated that by, getting Chris Youngblood, who's going to be an outstanding player, I think, from South Florida, and a guy that grew up in Tuscaloosa. But I would imagine a lot of the football conversation is having to do with tampering, the transfer portal, and NIL, because all these coaches are already not happy with the NIL situation. They're dealing with it, but nobody's happy with it because there's too many gray areas. The Jaden Rashada situation is a clown show. I had a gentleman from the Sunshine State, Mark McLeod, on my show this morning. There was never even, a signed contract or anything with this deal. It's really a joke, honestly. This whole thing, it's a dog and pony show that's showing up. And there's an agreement within that both sides could just walk away at any time. So there's really no merit for it. To me, it's ambulance chasing. But it's a difficult time in the sport right now. Plus, you're talking about the college football playoff. It's going to be, how it's going to hash out for 2 years. It's going to be 14 teams, but 12 teams. but could be, you could expand to 14 rather quickly. Plus, you're still talking about the scheduling format going forward. Are they going to go from 8 to 9? So there's a lot of things to talk about.
Let's I had Karen Johns on earlier talking softball, but I want to get your reaction to Alabama winning that super regional in Knoxville over rival Tennessee after losing really a heartbreaker in game one that they probably should have won 3-2 to come back and be able to win a 14-inning game on Saturday and then get the first inning grand slam that held up through a 3-hour delay, and Tennessee trying to come back in the bottom of the seventh, but won that game 4-1. And now they're they're in Oklahoma City for the 15th time. The program's only 28 years old, and you've been to the College World Series more times than you haven't been. But this might be the most remarkable trip of all of them, because there's no denying the fact that this team struggled to score runs in the SEC schedule. And to be able to win a regional and then win that super, we know the pitching's there. Now the offense seems to be coming around, Drew. Do you think they got a shot to go out to or out there in OKC to win some games and maybe rake a run?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, confidence is a crucial thing, and people forget last year by the time they got to OKC, Montana Fouts had a torn ACL. She was not herself. They were not a complete team. So they were not able to be the factor that they could have been with her if she could have gotten to a groove and gotten hot. So I think they're healthier this year, no question about it. They have Marley Giles back, which I think people have underrated. It's big, it's huge. She was really starting to swing the bat well before she got hurt in late March. Bailey Dowling hitting the way she has in the postseason here, winding up her career, is outstanding because she came in with such ballyhooed credentials and she got hurt. So her swinging the bat as good as she has all year is big. And then, of course, Kinley Cahalan, that's your best position player. She's coming off of a 3-for-3 performance as they vanquished Tennessee. So she's playing good softball. Riley Ballantyne, she's been clutch in the postseason with her power. I mean, there was never a better funk to hear than the funk of the softball hitting the bleachers out in the outfield over the fence at Knoxville. When you realize that ball went over the wall and Alabama was up 4-0. So pitching gives them a great chance. Jocelyn Brisky is healthy. He was not for at least half the season. Her being healthy right now is huge. So I just think overall, they may be the lowest seed, but they're hot right now. Certainly, they should be confident and looking forward to the challenge. I'll be frank. I mean, I thought Murphy did a great job last year, but I thought this year was his best coaching job because they had their first losing season in SEC play ever, but now they're 5-1 when it matters most, and they're 5-1 in the postseason. And I'm talking about NCAA regionals and supers. And so they're playing really, really well. They're playing great softball. He's been to the World Series 15 times. And to me, it's just really, really been gratifying to watch them play so well because they took a lot of heat during the season because people have such high expectations. And a lot of people have taken shots at the program and shots at Coach Murphy, which I thought was a joke. And I thought, the young lady stepping up when they absolutely had to and winning out in Tennessee, hopefully it will quell some of that, some of the minority, because I don't think it was the majority by any means, but it was a minority of people that wouldn't know a softball from a football who were yelling and screaming. And, I think they consider a national championship or bust, but championships are hard to win. And, Dean Smith only won 2, and he was very fortunate to win the 2 he won. Jim Boeheim only won 1. There's been some great coaches that only won one or two championships. And Coach Murphy's won 1, and he came very close to winning 2 others. One with Montana Fouts and one with Haley McClenny, but couldn't quite pull it out. But certainly he's had an elite program. And I think what this signals is Alabama softball is not going anywhere. Certainly they're not the favorite to win in OKC, but they're back there. And, I even thought maybe this year that Alabama softball wasn't elite, but they proved me wrong. They proved a lot of people wrong because the thing about softball is when you get somewhere, you earn it. And Alabama earned it. They may have only finished 9th in the regular season in the SEC, but now it's just Alabama and Florida, the last 2 teams standing. And that's what matters most. And it's kudos and credit to Coach Murphy, the coaching staff, and the young lady.
Baseball not only gets in a little bit of nerves and anxiety about whether or not they would make it. They get in as a 2 seed in Tallahassee. I know Florida State's good. I think Central Florida's good. Alabama's first game opponent on Friday night. Of course, Stetson rounds out that regional. But I like it. It's a bus trip. You don't have to fly. They'll leave. They're going to be getting together to get on the road here in a little bit. Again, Alabama a little short on starting pitching. Some of that has to do with injuries. But I like the trip. I think they'll be comfortable there. It wouldn't surprise me if they wind up playing Florida State for the regional championship. Would it you?
No, I mean, Alabama definitely has the offense to do it. My question is the pitching, and do they have enough? Because obviously, the pitching has been a concern. I mean, losing Riley Quick, as early as they did was not easy. He could have been one of their top 2 guys. And Greg Ferrone has worked his way from midweek to your number 1. He's kind of struggled down the stretch, but I think he hasn't pitched that poorly. He just had some bad luck. And then, Ben Hess really has thrown well down the stretch, and I think he's the big key. I do like Zane Adams as well. The bullpen is probably my biggest concern because it wasn't very good in their last outing against when they had played South Carolina and they used some of their high leverage guys like Aiden Moza and Alton Davis early, and they weren't very effective. But again, all the slate is wiped clean. The key is going to be, can Ferrone go 5 or 6 innings against what's going to be the Friday night guy for UCF who's really good? And can the offense get going early against this UCF staff? Who, you got to remember, though, this is not the usual UCF because UCF is coming from the Big 12 now, not the American Athletic. So they've seen some better competition. So they're certainly very good. They're one of the last 4 teams in. But if Alabama swings the bats well, I think they can score, no question about it. And I think Florida State will have to throw Jamie Arnold, their number 1 in the first game, because Stetson nearly beat Florida State twice this year, Gary. So they're going to have to throw their best guy. So you won't get Florida State's number 1 if you can win. But the key is going to be getting Ferrone, I think, through 5 or 6 innings, and then the bullpen pitching well. And maybe Alabama can get off to – they need to get off to another good start like they did against South Carolina, but they just need to pitch better. If Alabama can pitch well, because they're playing in a hitter's park at Florida State. But I think it's a difficult draw, but I think it's manageable. And what do I always say in regional play? The biggest key is winning the first game because you need to stay in the winner's bracket and keep your pitching lined up. I'll never forget that great team Alabama had in 2002 that Lance Cormier and Jeremy Brown were a part of. They lost the first game to Florida Atlantic, I believe it was, in round 1. And then they turned around and they dug their way out of the winner's bracket and played FAU again. But by the time they played them, they kind of ran out of gas. Because Auburn was even in that regional, and Auburn and Alabama got upset in the first 2 games. So the biggest thing is to stay in the winner's bracket and kind of keep your pitching lined up and let your offense kind of take over. Because if they don't have to face the number 1 of Florida State, I would like their chances in order to score some runs and potentially pull an upset. And then if you can get to Sunday in the winner's bracket, you have to be beaten twice. So I think, but the most important thing is beating UCF, and certainly the key is going to be Alabama on the mound. They need a good start out of Greg Ferrone.
No doubt about it. All right, Drew, final topic. Of course, portal is a big part of building a roster now, but high school recruiting is still very important. And June is a busy month now with the way the calendar works with the December signing period. And the first of a number of big recruiting weekends is this weekend for Alabama football. They got a lot of top guys coming in.
Yeah, they do. And Keelan Russell, who may be their top quarterback target, is coming in May 31st through June the 2nd. He's from Duncanville, Texas. No doubt about it. I mean, he's committed to SMU, but Alabama's shown a lot of interest in him. He's shown a lot of interest in Alabama. They need to sign a quarterback in this class because we know quarterback is a very transient position. And of course, if things go like they're supposed to, this will be the last year for, Jalen Milroe on campus. So you need to get a young quarterback in there. They this whole month of June, late May into June, it's going to be huge for Alabama. You're going to have your football camps going on, but you're going to have official visitors in. they've done a really good job of building the class defensively so far. But the strength of this staff is offense. The head coach is a quarterback, offensive guy, a former OC. They've got a really good offensive staff, and I think when they actually start playing games, if they start putting up numbers, it's going to make the recruiting profile go up even more. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this month of June goes and how they sell these offensive guys. And one of the biggest keys to the class, Gary, is they need to get 5 or 6 offensive linemen committed, because they only have 14 on scholarship. I know from great sources they'd like to have 15 or as many as 16 on scholarship. They don't have that right now. The amazing thing is 7 of those are either freshmen or redshirt freshmen, so they're very, very young, and they don't have a senior in the offensive line room, though I think everybody understands that, Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts, if they have All-American type seasons, they'll both move on to the NFL. But still, that's pretty amazing is you don't have a senior on the offensive line. Welcome to the transfer portal era where a lot of guys move around.
Great stuff as always, Drew. Appreciate the update. And you, of course, got Talking Ball weekday mornings on 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville. You're busy doing other shows. You contributed to Tider Insider on social media. Just fill the listeners in on all the different ways that they can keep up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The countdown has begun for later today with, Jaron Stevenson and Mark Sears, and we'll be monitoring that. And they can connect with me at Drew D 977 ESPN on my X account, and then with our station at 977 ESPN. All of our content is on 977ESPN.com and also on our SoundCloud page. And I know it's a shorter week this week, but we're coming off of a Memorial Day holiday. Very thankful for those that serve, and it was great to be with friends and family this weekend. And we always appreciate being on the Gary Harris Show. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Drew. Have a great Wednesday. All right, folks, we're going to take our final time out. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show. We did not get to the Patrick Murphy audio, but I can tell you this. They don't play until 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is right when my show ends. So we can still run him tomorrow. We did get to most of the Kalen DeBoer sound from SEC spring meetings down there at Sandestin Resort. All right, we'll be back to wrap up the Gary Harris Show, get you ready for T-Town Sports Daily. We'll do that next right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours.
At PearlRiverResort.com. Brian McKnight 4.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today with only a small chance of a shower, the high 88. Tonight fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Friday, partially sunny both days. The chance of a shower stays small. Highs between 81 and 84. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 84 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:55. Time flies when you're having fun. Good show today. We appreciate all our great guests. Karen Johns, Matt Coulter, Drew D. Armand. And back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. As I said, Alabama softball will play at 11 tomorrow on ESPN. So we can, if we have an opportunity, still run that Patrick Murphy sound. I was able to, along with several other reporters, interview him yesterday out at the Tuscaloosa National Airport. And also tomorrow, Jeff Spiegel will be with us as well. And I'm going to work on, may try to get George Husak, Alabama men's tennis coach, to talk about the outstanding accomplishment by Philip Ponishek, NCAA men's tennis singles champion from Alabama. So we'll have a really good show on tap for you tomorrow. And then, of course, you turn around and it's Friday, short week this week with the holiday on Monday. So we'll get you ready for another big TGIF edition on Friday. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. This hour has been brought to you by Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. T-Town Sports Daily with Justin and Wyatt coming up next. Miller's Edge from noon until 2, and then Fowler will take you home with the game this afternoon from 2 until 6, and he is down at Sandestin for SEC meetings. So you'll want to look forward to that. All right, catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. Then, as I said, back here tomorrow morning for the Thursday edition of the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m. Beautiful weather again today. Have a great one, everybody. Talk to you in the morning.